Good morning. Welcome to São Paulo. It's a real pleasure to have you here. And I would like to say how fantastic for us is to have this meeting here in São Paulo. As probably you know, market economies require a rule of law. A society without a state protection of individual rights, especially the right to own property, is not capable of creating an environment that fosters the formation of long-term private investments, a key ingredient of a growing modern economy. If an excess of rules, as in a central planning economy, can restrain initiative and produce economic stagnation, an absence of legal framework produce chaos, epidemic criminality, and a widespread corruption. The question put for a single society is how to create and how to implement an effective rule of law. On the other hand, technological advance is continually altering the shape and nature of the economic process. As a result, the changing structure of global economy has been shifting the emphasis from a national set of rules to an increased international one. Although this shift may appear unfriendly, perhaps because of the uncertainties associated with it, its impact on law and economy is only beginning to be felt. Moreover than ever, after the 2008 financial crisis, it seems that the leaders of the G20 group recognize that the future economic process and the success of this economy will depend on an efficient and predictable rule of law. The current general challenge is to develop local, global, legal frameworks that foster the growth and the welfare of the economies in an increasingly interdependent world with divergence, but also common interests. In order to cope with this enormous challenge, academic institutions have the duty to promote the emergence of professionals able to deal with this increasingly complex scenario. Therefore, the idea to develop the Law Schools Global League seems adequate and relevant. The focus of this first conference of the Law Schools Global League is the challenge of legal education in a globalized world, and of course, to establish the main objective of the League. We are aware of the institutional efforts and also the personal sacrifices that this kind of endeavor requires. For this reason, we would like to thank you all for, among all other things, traveling for more than 10 hours, or at least, to get to São Paulo. Yes? Hence, we do hope that your first meeting will be inspired and productive. Thanks so much for your presence here, and I would like to invite my dear Dean, Professor Oscar Vilhena, to conduce this meeting, of course, and the Dean Randall Lesaffer to do the same thing. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Maria Lúcia. Thank all her staff for putting together this meeting, the staff of Tilburg University, and all the effort and engagement during this month before this meeting. We are very pleased that you are here, as you notice. We are very happy that this enterprise is starting finally. To see the faces around the tables, it's extremely important for us. We also would like to thank you for sharing such inspiring views and some clear expectations in the papers that you sent in the last few weeks. It's amazing how common goals and clear perspectives are shared on these papers. It's really amazing. Finally, when I read the last one, I was trying to find one of the ideas, and I found that the same idea was in all of the papers. So this means that this group is already, there is already a cement among us in terms of the goals and the expectations that we have. I don't know, yesterday when we were talking, someone said at the meeting that the sense that you get from the papers is that we are not alone. Sometimes when we are discussing this in our own countries, other schools felt that we are strange. But reading these papers, we felt that we have other schools that clearly understand the world in a very similar perspective. So it was a pleasure, it's a comfort to read all these papers, and I think you felt in the same way. The idea of bringing these law schools together, I think from my memory, if I'm not wrong, it sprung in the end of 2009, and when Randall made a visit to our school, and my dear Dean Ari Osvaldo, the founder of this school, was at that moment very enthusiastic about it, this notion that the school should go more and more globally. And we were discussing the possibilities of cooperation, as you all do almost every day in your own schools. But at that moment, we have the feeling that we could go beyond the traditional ways of cooperation, which means, well, let's exchange students. Well, let's perhaps exchange some professors for a week or two, or other forms of legal imperialism that we know of, receiving superstars to teach the ords in the South. But the idea was to create something that would be more cosmopolitan in its true sense. Something that would take seriously the way people were thinking about law, were researching about law, were teaching about law around the globe. I think that was, if I'm being true to that meeting, that was the perception, that we could, in fact, our intentions were to do something larger than a simple exchange program, a traditional program of integration of law schools. And it was very easy to set a list of people that should be invited. Most of us have the same understanding of the role of your schools around the globe. It was the natural partners to this. I don't think we have one discussion about any of the schools. We were just listening and saying, yes, we also work with them, and we know the persons there. So it was a natural gathering in some sense. This kind of initiative, I think, would not be possible 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 years ago. We would not take as an easy task. We would not think of having partners from Singapore, India, South Africa, Holland, France, US, together in a non-hierarchical position. I think what changed in the world in the last 20 years made this not only a possibility, but also as an imperative. I think all of us who understand the dimension and of globalization understand that new actors are on the ground today. That globalization is not just a competition among economic agencies. that globalization is not just about a technological revolution that makes our decisions informed immediately by what is happening around the globe, but globalization is set inside institutions, and that there is a competition between institutions, that there is a competition between how legal think inform and design these institutions, but also that there is a possibility of cooperation of these institutions and cooperation of how we think about the law. So this enterprise, I think, is in this direction, that we should put together our minds, our colleagues, our researchers, our students, to navigate in this new world of a globalized institutionalism and not just an economic globalization. Therefore, I think it is indispensable for leading schools or those who are around this table that we change the way we teach, but most of all the way we think about law. We should, in some sense, leave the parochialism and leave the formalism that has informed and became a pattern in legal education, at least in the last century. My colleague José Reinaldo, who's a historian of law, and also Randall, who's a historian of law, would say legal education perhaps was much better before. It was much more cosmopolitized before, and we in the 20th century lost some of these qualities, and I think we should reacquire some of these very specific skills that lawyers need to understand and to act in a globalized world. So, several were the proposals on the papers, and I will not reproduce them because you all produced them and you read them. But it's amazing, and I will mention just a few things that we could encounter as a common ground on those papers. And certainly this shows how this group could be of a mutual benefit for all of us. I don't know, I'm sure that we all travel, not us, but you travel all around the globe to come here because we thought this would be an important thing for all of us. First, the basic things, share experience. We are all trying to become more globalized in our education. What are we doing? What is working? What are our difficulties in making this? Should we improve comparative law? Should we put more international law? Should we expose? I think we should. The first thing is get this information and have a set of best practices. Second, how could we improve the exchange programs? Even though I'm saying this is from the last century model of internationalization, it is indispensable. How we could make our faculty meet, how we can provide a stage for our researchers to produce common studies. Are we in a position to benchmarking? What is a globalized school? Can we produce a list of things that could be considered indispensable for a school to become a globalized school? Is this group able to do this? And finally, there are some other objectives designed on the papers that thrill us, which is, are we able to produce joint programs, joint LLMs, joint PhD programs? That would have a completely different structure than the ones that are already internationalized that exist today. So I think these are some of the challenges that are before us. I would pass the floor to Randall, but before I would really like to thank him and his group for the generous way in which we built this absolutely together. Thank you, Randall.
Well, thank you, first of all, Oscar and Maria Lucia and the whole team of FGV. I think that I speak on behalf of all of you if I thank our our hosts from FGV for the wonderful welcome, the wonderful organization, and the daring to organize this first meeting. We were not sure that anybody would come in the beginning, but in the end 13 law schools showed up and a few more already committed themselves to the second meeting. We're very daringly already planning ahead in Tilburg in June this year. I try not to be too repetitive, but say a few things. Some people yesterday night and over the last weeks and months asked me, and they asked Oscar, why are we doing that? And the answer is, of course, because we feel that globalization is something that is so deeply changing and going to change the way we at least should teach and think about law, that we cannot do it on our own. And happily, we're not alone. And of course, to globalize, you need partners. And that's the simple answer. I like to tell a very simple story how deep that goes, I think, that globalization. A few weeks ago, I was going to my local wine shop in Bruges in Belgium, where I live. You all know the expression, or you don't know it, that when the attic is threatening to come down because you have too many books, it's the moment to start strengthening the wine cellar. So I went there and I bought a few dozen of bottles of wine, some Latin American, and at some point he said, "You're a lawyer, no?" I said, "Yes." "Can I ask you something?" Then I started to sweat, of course, because I haven't been practicing law for 15 years. And then he said, "Well, I always buy my Latin American, Chilean, Argentinian wine, with a big importer firm in Brussels. But now through the internet I found that there's a possibility, and I went to Buenos Aires, and I'm going to buy directly from a wine shop there. And I'm going to put a container every month in the harbor of Buenos Aires, and it will sail to the harbor of Antwerp, and I will organize everything myself. I find my way through the internet, but I have some legal problems. What law do I need to use?" So he was quite clever. "What law do I need to use? Do I need Belgian law, Argentinian law, shipping insurance, and so on and so forth?" So I went to my lawyer, my local lawyer, and he didn't have a clue. And he sent me on to a big Antwerp law firm. Is that normal? You as a law professor, do you consider that normal? That's globalization. Globalization, you have believers and non-believers. And the non-believers would say, okay, there's globalization in law, there's more and more global law in the sense that we have a little bit more public international law, we have more transnational law in human rights, environment, business, and so on. And you have a growth, of course, of global legal practice and big law firms. But that's about it. But believers, and I suppose I'm preaching to the choir, because we try to make a choir with believers, will say, of course, it's much more than that. It's also that more and more people, even in local practices, will be confronted with cases that extend beyond their own legal system because of multi-level governance, not only in the European Union, but also outside, because of the fact that the state sovereignty in terms of the lawmaking, the law enforcing is declining and demising. More and more you have other actors in the field of lawmaking and law enforcement that actually make our traditional system of teaching, in which we acquaint students from the beginning with one legal system and acquaint them mostly with the beauty of what I call the systemic fits, the consistency of the system, and which we teach them most of all when they reflect about the law, when they try to make them critical about the law. We always stay in that paradigm of what I call the systemic fit. It is one system. It is beautiful, consistent, and if it's not, then you have to improve it. Much of, let's say, our critical reflection in our legal teaching is more what I call systemic engineering than social engineering. And that's also something that's going to go. And maybe it's not only about... I have the feeling that globalization challenges, and I'm speaking a bit as a legal historian, is challenging the way we teach and research law over, indeed, the last 100 years. The last great reform of law schools that set down a paradigm was at the end of the 19th, beginning of the 20th century. And of course, since then we've been innovating and changing. But the paradigm is still that we learn to teach students to work within one legal system, and then as they go along, we add a little bit international law, we add a bit comparative law. But it is that sovereign state principle, which was indeed very different before in the 19th century than it was Roman law as an international, let's say, framework of reference. But that is actually the paradigm that I feel is going through that process of globalization. And that is quite a challenge. And understanding that challenge more and more as you work in a law school, as you become dean of a law school and so on and so forth, at some point I think we all understand that we cannot do it alone and that we need to help one another. Another perspective that was also pointed at by Oscar, of course, we're moving, or we have moved, to a multipolar world. And it means that it's time that we start learning from one another instead of learning too much from one, I would say. I also said as a European because I feel that the process of internationalization of law in Europe has been too focused on Europe and not enough on the rest of the world. And it might indeed not have been evident to say that 10 years ago, but maybe thanks to the world crisis now, it is evident to say that in Europe. What we indeed hope to do with this meeting is set up a platform, a network, a league of law schools that show commitment, that have commitment to globalization, and that want to learn from one another. We took this step to organize this, but we don't want to lead this any further than today. We want everybody here to take over. And I think the main purpose of this meeting is set an agenda for the future. And many of you, of course, have brought ideas about the table. As Oscar said, there's an agenda about how we're going to do legal education in a globalized world. There's an agenda possible about research. I would add a third thing. Maybe we could also think about setting up a platform to think about the global organization of law as an academic discipline in terms of benchmarking of education, benchmarking of research. That would strengthen, I think, our position within our universities often, let's say, vis-à-vis those fields like economy or sociology or psychology that are by nature much more internationally organized. And maybe we should also think about organizing a platform of discussion with international legal practice. Also, let's say, organize a little bit more law as an international academic discipline so that we can talk about the needs of global law with legal practice in the future. But that might be a very ambitious thing to start with, but why not be ambitious? I want to add one more thing. We set it up as a two-conference, let's say, beginning of the network. So we're here now in São Paulo. We'll all invite you to a conference in Tilburg on the 20th to the 22nd of June. When the weather will be better than it's now in the Netherlands, and maybe as hot as here. And the idea of the conference is basically to have 2 days. The first day would be pretty much like here, a meeting of executives from law schools to speak about the agenda we're hopefully going to set today, and maybe have 1 or 2 projects we can already start really making more concrete. The second day would be more a real academic conference about global legal research, you could say, in the sense that Tilburg is trying to set up a series of textbooks for global legal education, bringing on board the state of the art of what researchers can contribute to that. So it will be an academic conference in the fields of private and public law and several aspects of that, and what globalization means, what kind of global legal research already exists, and how we can translate some of that into our educational programs and systems. And that conference, of course, will be open to anybody who's interested, but the idea would be that the first day would be a meeting of us all and some other partners who have indicated their interest for the future.
Okay. So perhaps we could go around the table, people could introduce themselves and say a little bit about what are the expectations or what your school goals are in relation to this meeting. We would have 2 or 3 minutes for each of you just to do this sum up, and then we will move to another stage of this meeting. Okay?
I'm Jim Spetta. I'm from Northwestern University in Chicago. Not from Chicago, but from Northwestern in Chicago. Thank you for inviting us. We're very happy to be here. We're at a stage of having a new dean as of the first of the year, which means we're actively beginning to rethink our entire program, although we think we're doing a lot of good things. But we've realized that our international programs and international focus has grown sort of program by program as opposed to with an overall theory of engagement, and this is a perfect forum to sort of take it to the next level. Some of you know us. We have, as is not uncommon for American law schools, a big inbound LLM program where we bring 80 to 100 foreign lawyers to spend a year in Chicago. But more recently, in the past decade, we've started 3 3 overseas executive master's programs, sort of built on the executive MBA model, where we send our faculty to, right now, Madrid, Tel Aviv, and Korea to educate mainly lawyers and business people who can't come to the United States for a year. And those have been very interesting engagements for us. We've learned a lot about doing legal education overseas. I think although the principal thing we've learned is that we don't know a lot. But that's where we are at the moment. We've grown recently to start a program in international human rights in Chicago, international tax in Chicago, and so we're looking for a platform that allows us to think rationally about how all the pieces fit together, and this seems like the perfect fit. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm Pierre Larouche, professor of competition law at Tilburg University and the director of studies for our new Bachelor Global Law program. So I'll be happy to discuss these matters with you. And as far as our faculty is concerned, our dean already told you everything that you need to know about us. So I'll hand over.
Thank you, Pierre. First of all, thank you for the invitation to Sao Paulo from DIREITO and Tilburg here to come over, to have a platform, to have an exchange of best practice, to have ideas what we can do for the changing world in globalization, even in the law education and research. My name is Patrick Schröer from EBS Law School in Wiesbaden. We're just a new law school. Our first year started last year in September. Our business school is quite even older, 40 years, not as old as all other universities here. And we are now a 2-faculty university in Germany, and our way of law education and law research changed a little bit from the normal system, when I could say is in the normal system in Germany. And that's why we are really looking forward to have a connection bilateral and also in different conferences. And all the targets we want to reach at this conference, you mentioned it before, so I don't want to repeat this off this hand. Thank you very much, and we're looking forward.
Hi everyone, I'm Professor Amnon Lehavi from the Radzyner School of Law, IDC Herzliya in Israel. Thank you so much for organizing this, for the truly inspiring opening remarks. It's the kind of things that we're constantly thinking about, and it's really delightful to see how similar our thoughts are about the global efforts and challenges of law schools. Very shortly, IDC Herzliya is committed both to globalization and to interdisciplinary studies, which I guess is, intertwined with globalization. And so all of our students at law school are required to take another degree in a social sciences discipline, so this is really built into our curriculum. And also we have a very extensive English language program. We are the only law school in Israel that requires the students to take courses in English. We had the pleasure of hosting Maria Lucia about a year ago to teach a course. We have about 30 visiting professors. My colleague Omer Licht will probably say more about this international aspect. Let me just say that as a property law professor, I think that what the two deans have just mentioned is something that I come across in my everyday research. Property, and especially land law, used to be a very parochial field of law. It used to be intertwined with issues of sovereignty, of nationalism. And what we see over the past 10 or 50 years is really the internalization of the trade of real estate, for example, the academic practice of real estate. I'm heading a newly established real estate institute. And it's obvious to me that our academic agenda must be globalized, because the overwhelming majority, for example, of Israeli entrepreneurs around the world is really engaging in global practices. And so I think that even the most traditionally parochial fields of law, such as land law, are now facing an enormous pressure, enormous demand for legal norms and legal practices, both in everyday life, in practice, and in academia. So I'm really looking forward to the kind of mutual thinking that we're going to have over this day. So thank you so much for organizing this.
So thank you very much for invitation to this meeting. I'm Eduard Ivanov, Deputy Dean for International Cooperation of the Faculty of Law of the National Research University High School of Economics, Moscow, Russia.
We are very interested in cooperation in this field. We have already a number of bilateral cooperation agreements and programs, mostly with European universities. But I think it's a good opportunity for all of us to develop a really global cooperation network. We are very interested in, for example, development of joint standards and opportunities for student exchanges between our universities. In development, in the future probably, of joint master program, with possibility for students to choose any of universities member of this global league. Mm-hmm. And also we are interested in development of joint global research programs. For example, in international trade regulation, in development of internet regulation, in development of cooperation in anti-bribery and anti-money laundering law, and a number of other fields of law. Mm-hmm. And I hope this meeting will be very successful. Thank you.
My name is Machteld Geuskens. I'm from Tilburg Law School. I work as global law coordinator, though it has had many names, my job. What I've tried to do is get our staff members to reveal what it is they need and what would make them work internationally with those partners that we would like them to work with in order to grow stable partnerships that can last over time. And what I have found is not only it's been a real pleasure to work with FGV, but also that the staff members who have met other staff members from faculties that we've actually introduced to them were greatly excited of the opportunities that were offered to them, and were very open to all the connections and the possibilities in exploring them. So another thing to say is that I have visited other deans with Dean Randall Lesaffer, and this is a very exciting opportunity to have all the deans together. I think that's rather unique, so I'm very hopeful that this meeting will have a fruitful result. Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether this is necessary or not to move the microphone. This works?
Yes, we hope.
It can't keep on, but... Okay, so my name is Henrique Sousa Antunes. I'm Dean of the Law Faculty of the Catholic University in Portugal. Bom dia. Obrigado. Aprecio muito estar aqui. And in Catholic University, for some years now, we have been realizing the importance of global law. And that's why we have decided in the law faculty to create a unit which has autonomy, which is the Católica Global Law School. And Luís Barreto Xavier, who is just beside me, is the Dean of the Católica Global Law School. That has been created for running programs in English language, but especially because we do feel and we do know that globalization is now a fact. And as Dean Oscar Vieira has said, this is a very important moment because we can now think all together of new ways of adding value to this globalization experience. In terms of course, sharing experience, in terms, of course, of improving staff and students' mobility or exchange, but as you said, in terms of even being more brave in thinking of joint programs, LLMs, PhDs. So in what relates to Catholic University, we are very much within these projects and we fully support it. And our presence of both deans here is the proof of this commitment to this program. Thank you so much. Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Microphone goes.
I think Enrique has said it all, and you can also read the documents we provided. We share this mission, and we are very, very excited and committed to what can happen in the future. Thank you.
Obrigado.
So, I'm Amir Licht from the Radzynev School of Law at the Interdisciplinary Center Herzliya. I'm the former dean of the school. There's now an interim dean, and we are now taking applications talking about globalization of a law school. As I was going over the papers, I fully share the feeling that Oscar and Randall mentioned of, having to preach to the choir, having to preach to the converted, actually. I mean, we all here, we saw the light, okay? We had our epiphany. Now we have to kind of spread this gospel to the crowds, and it's a challenge. I also share the sense that there's like a set of true and tested, tricks to do globalization, in the old way, but they are true and tested. And one of the issues that, again, I shared personally as I was going over the papers is that we also share an understanding of the challenge or how to proceed from now, how to proceed from here. Should there be new moduses of globalizing legal education? What I would like to emphasize personally in the discussions during this day is that how should we do this, or how could we do this without losing sight of the domestic, without losing sight of our, without sounding, bombastic or something like that, or without using cliches, without losing sight of our mission. As educators of young lawyers who would work on the ground to, help people or facilitate business transactions and other interactions between people in a particular social environment that is and probably will remain domestic. And this tension is something that I would like to discuss with people who, share the same issue, share the same challenge. So thanks very much for this wonderful initiative. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Hi there. My name is Miran Demel. I'm from NYU. Sorry, this microphone is a little high for me. I'm going to take a moment just to introduce myself, and since we didn't submit a paper, just say a couple of words, because I'm so grateful actually for your leadership here. And as I looked at the papers last night and I'm hearing people around the room talk, I actually think this is a very brave and impressive effort. And I just want to express, I think, the law school's strong support for what you're doing here. I know exactly what it feels like to be the only or part of a very small island of people in an institution trying to think about these things. And it's so nice to have a community to do that. I'll just say a word, just so you guys know. So I'm the assistant dean at the law school at NYU. And I'm also an alum of the school. I graduated with my JD in 2005, and I came to the law school because of the global program that we have. And I was one of those students who ended up in that kind of narrow field that everyone associates with global legal education, which is public international law. So I actually was a lawyer for the United States State Department, and had a very traditional sort of career, short-lived, in the U.S. State Department. I was posted in The Hague, in Baghdad, and then at the U.S. mission to the UN. And I was having a great time, but the challenge that brought me back to NYU was the challenge that actually has me sitting here at this table, which is how to define the next phase of the global law program that we have at NYU. Just a few words about that, just because many of you probably know the basic elements of what we've done thus far, which I think is extremely exciting and wonderful, but potentially in need of some real reinvigoration. So we call the first phase Bringing the World to NYU, and you know that we have our various programs that we have where we bring through the Hauser program LLM students. We have top LLM students. We have lots of scholarships now available in a very international class. We have our global faculty program where we bring faculty from around the world to teach, and we've actually hired substantial numbers of our global faculty onto our full-time faculty, which means that the curriculum actually in New York is a very diverse and international curriculum. And then we have our Global Fellows program, which is the program where we are able to bring really bright young researchers to come and work with our faculty. And these have all been extremely successful and have really helped to kind of create a very vibrant atmosphere in New York. We call the next phase Bringing the World to NYU. bring NYU to the world, and it's an outward-facing effort. It's being done in tandem with, I don't know how many of you guys have looked at any of this, but our former dean of the law school, who's now the president of the university. His name is John Sexton, and he's quite a vibrant and powerful force of nature. And he has put on the map this concept for the main university of the Global Network University. So we have sites now going up all over the world, and 2 full campuses, one in Abu Dhabi and one in Shanghai, that will be full undergraduate campuses. So this provides us some infrastructure that the law school itself can now take advantage of as we think about how we want to sort of take the NYU to the world. We already have been lucky enough to have certain discrete initiatives that have been quite successful. We have our NYU and NUS program, so this sort of dual degree that you can get, this LLM. And then I'm very privileged to say that we have some very, very neat research initiatives that have come out of our faculty. Mayra is here today. She's wonderful. She's one of our very best collaborators who work with our faculty on a variety of research projects that have essentially transnational and international dimensions to them, but also a domestic focus. But I think the time has come for the law school now to really think about how we want to engage more to create opportunities for our students. And I think we recognize the world is changing and want to sort of rethink what we're doing. So I won't say too much else, except I just wanted to endorse very much the ambitious agenda that you laid out. I think all 3 elements of what you described are really important, and we will be committed. I can speak for our faculty. We will be committed to work with you on all of them. And I think, in particular, to pick up on the very good work that I know Luciana is doing, thinking about the future of the sort of global legal profession, I think it will be important for us to, in the conversations that we have about the direction that education is held, this is the sort of last element of your agenda. At some point, I think if those conversations can somehow converge and we connect legal education to the legal profession, I think that will be very useful. So thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Ronaldo Macedo. I teach legal theory here at DIREITO GV, and I also would like to endorse the main ideas and ideals that were mentioned here. I just like to say that in most of the papers, the word interdisciplinary approach, interdisciplinary studies have been repeated many times. And I think that in this kind of globalized world, the very meaning of interdisciplinary studies is changing as well. Being interdisciplinary now is not only putting together 2 different perspectives from 2 different disciplines, but it's also to take different perspectives from different people, from different cultural and backgrounds on the same issues. So I think that this is not only important for the fact that this more broader education is important for itself. And the other point I'd like to stress is that I think that even in my area of studies, which is legal theory, what is happening now is that I wouldn't say that there's a global agenda on legal theory. That's not what I mean. But I think that not only some theoretical issues are becoming more global because of the exchange of ideas, which is facilitated. It's easier every day, but also because we are facing the same problems or very similar problems in very different settings. So, and finally, I just yesterday I was talking with James about this difference about civil law and common law education, and I think that in many ways we are now facing a situation in which we are overcoming this traditional divide in terms of legal education. The issue now is not if we belong to a common law tradition or civil law tradition, but it's basically how different traditions in legal education give responses and react to these new global challenges. So that's what I also think we should try to think about during this meeting.
Well, My name is Paulo Goldschmidt. I'm the Vice Dean of the DIREITO GV, the Vice Dean for Administration. I'm the non-lawyer in this meeting, so probably I can help. Probably I cannot help in discussing very deeply all the issues that you are putting on the table. But anyway, probably my collaboration to the league is that I can help you to understand each other one way, and give the administrative means in order to make that the league could go ahead and be a success. So you can count with the administrative staff of DIREITO GV in order to provide all the means necessary to have the league go ahead. Thank you.
That's important.
Very important.
Okay, now we can play.
Good morning. My name is Luciana Gross. I teach political science and research methodology here in DIREITO GV, and I'm also the graduate affairs officer. And now I am in this study, studying the global lawyer in the development countries, India, China, and Brazil. So I am very interested in to look forward this kind of meeting.
Good morning, everyone. My name is José Garcia Girardi. I'm a professor here at DIREITO GV. I work with legal education, among other things. I'm very excited to see two things. One, that we seem to have a common goal and a common view. And at the same time that we are very different. That I want to refer what Professor Albert Licht said. There is a very exciting tension between global and local here. And of course, globalization does not mean the erasure of what's local. It means the redefining, reshaping of what's local and what's global. And I think that this will affect every aspect of our action here, from very pedestrian questions of how we can actually make this thing move ahead to very theoretical laden questions that will be impacted by our differences. So I really think it's something to celebrate that we are so different, and this brings this crucial tension between local and global that I think it is not only a theoretical issue in the way we teach law, it's an issue in the way we practice law, and it's the way a theoretical issue in the way we think, practice, and teach. So I think I'd very much like throughout this day to hear everybody to see how we can cope with that and move ahead so that we can rethink either both globalization and local realities. I'm very excited and glad that everybody's here.
My name is Matt van Nessem. I'm the executive director of the Tilburg Law School, and I wouldn't dare to rehearse to repeat what Randall already said, but there's one thing I want to add. I've seen our rooms are next to each other, so I've seen from a day-to-day basis born this idea to have a global league, and it's great to see that we are here and from all over the world, and the idea is really coming up now, and we're going to establish this. And I'm very grateful to have seen this process.
Hello, I am. Okay. I'm Anton Kok, the Deputy Dean at the University of Pretoria. Also, thank you for the invitation. Very happy to be here. Lots have already been said. The drawback and the benefit of being last or almost last in line is that lots of it have already been said. As many others have said, keeping an open mind. Very excited to be here, to listen, to learn. We have existing LLM programs, very strong programs in Africa on postgrad level. Part of what I want to see here is to what we can do at undergraduate level as well, and it links with the local and the global, with many international students from other Southern African countries coming to us at undergrad level, and what this approach means to undergrad teaching as well. All right, thank you.
Good morning. My name is Murthy. I'm a head of the administration in the OP Jindal Global University, and I'm also the executive director of the Center for Human Rights Studies in the Jindal Global Law School. Our university was established in the year 2009 with a global law school, and which was followed by a global business school, and then a School of International Affairs, and a School of Government and Public Policy. So we are strongly committed to interdisciplinary studies, and the interdisciplinary studies are driven by these 4 schools. And our vision is to promote global courses, global programs, global research, global collaborations, global interactions. And our faculty in the law school, about 40% are drawn from like foreign faculty members. And the rest have studied in top law schools abroad. During this short span of 2.5 years, we have established tie-ups with top law schools in the world, including Harvard, Yale, Columbia, Michigan, Cornell, Indiana, and many others. And we welcome, of course, the establishment of this Law Schools Global League, and wish to place on record our appreciation for all those who have led this effort. I agree with all others who said about the sharing of best practices or evolving an ambitious global research agenda. I feel we need to identify our strengths of different partners on this table and take steps to leverage their strengths to mutual advantage. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm P.J. Schwickard, Dean at the Faculty of Law at the University of Cape Town. Unlike others, we're not such a young university, and I don't know if that's an advantage or disadvantage. We've been around for over 150 years. And I think, like many of you, we have a large master's program, a large PhD program, and we have visiting scholars from around the world. And what my sense when Randall introduced this idea to me was of something beyond what we all do ordinarily. And I think the idea of developing a more systematic approach to the idea of what global scholarship means, and for me in particular, the various contextual issues that shape the form that global scholarship takes. I think we need to be very conscious of that. And at a more practical level, I echo again what I think we'll all have to grapple with, is how you find the appropriate balance between the national curricula and the international.
Hi, thank you for invitations. I am Margarita Gomez from Los Andes University, Colombia. And I think I would like to identify trends of modern legal educations and actions that can be implemented at the level of curricular structure, teaching, learning, methodologies, teaching materials, special. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Marcos Nóbrega. I'm from Recife, northeast of Brazil. I'm from Federal University, Faculdade de Direito do Recife, Faculty of Law. The oldest Faculty of Law in Brazil was founded in 1827. Together with USP here in São Paulo. Is a public university, is a traditional one, is a good and bad also. So it's bad because during more than 100 years we have paid attention in European countries, mainly Portugal, Spain, a little bit Germany. And as Brazil has grown so much in the last years, open new challenger for lawyers and the students, and we have to be open to new unpredictable environment. And so I think that is the great challenger in the future. For example, Brazil has growth, of course, in many different fields. For example, energy law, infrastructure, and when I pay attention in the public university, mainly public university, is very traditional, and the thinking law in the traditional and the old-fashioned way, and our great opportunity to share experience and make in touch with different parts of the world, different spheres of influence, mainly Russia, Asia countries, mainly China, and American and UK. It's a great challenge for our institution in the future. And thanks so much for the invitation. I'm very excited and enjoy the meeting. Enjoy São Paulo. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Stephen Gervin. I'm the Vice Dean for Research at the National University of Singapore. I have been Vice Dean Research from the 1st of January. I was previously Vice Dean holding two hats, research and international programs. I've waved international programs goodbye, but not forever, I don't think. Pretty much like James' introduction at the beginning, I need to close the circle. We also have a new dean from the 1st of January. And obviously our international links and relationships and what we do as a law school is very much up for reconsideration under our new regime. Now, our previous dean, who some of you I think know, Tan Cheng Han, he was dean for more than 10 years. At the very beginning of his deanship, he impressed upon the law school the necessity of moving away from the traditional ways in which the curriculum had been taught in Singapore, which was largely preoccupied with domestic law and preparing students for the Singapore bar exam. And around that time, the sort of first generation student exchange programs had already got underway, to the point that we now have a position where just short of 50% of our undergraduate law students go away on exchange in their third year. It's a 4-year degree overall. So we already have a comprehensive investment, I think, in the kind of first-tier relationships which many of you have been referring to in your introductions. How that develops in the future, I think, will be the real point of interest for us. And certainly one of the points that I make in my paper is how we can develop what I like to think of as being second-tier kinds of relationships. We've started down that road in NUS, inter alia, with a number of programs. Mira referred to the program that NYU runs in Singapore, which essentially means that those who are admitted to the program graduate after, I think it's just about 12 months of study, with two LLM degrees, one from NYU and one from NUS. But there are other enhancements that we've been able to offer. One of those has been to permit some of our very best undergraduate students to go to NYU in the 4th year and earn an LLM concurrently with their bachelor's degree. And that has proved to be a useful model for some other programs that we're in the process of developing. So we have a similar program for the undergraduate earning a concurrent master's degree with Boston. We're currently working on some programs with Tsinghua Law School in Beijing in China, and also a couple of other law schools, and I'd better keep the names of those law schools quiet because it's not in the public domain yet, and that's what we're hoping to see develop going forward. So far as our students are concerned, they're already quite heavily exposed to other jurisdictions in the course of their studies. They're also, for those students who are unsuccessful in being admitted to the program, we have, in the last 10 years, tried to ensure that students have the opportunity to benefit from programs which are transnational and global in nature, partly offered by our own resident faculty, who include not only Singaporeans but a considerable number of foreign staff, and obviously I include myself in that. But also each year we're able to invite up to between 15 and 20 visiting professors from universities throughout the globe, and I'm happy to say that Ronaldo from FGV will be one of those people just about a year away from now. So to finish off really from our perspective, I think what would be of interest then is not really just the kind of first tier kind of basic student exchange programs, which are pretty well established, but how we can move forward and develop second tier type programs, perhaps at postgraduate level, including masters and doctoral level, and perhaps also how we can look to develop the levels of research cooperation between the different institutions represented here. So thanks very much for that, and thanks again to FGV for hosting us at this event. It's a pleasure for me personally to be back here since my last visit, I think, which was in May last year. And I hope we all have a tremendously beneficial and exciting couple of days here. Thank you.
Thank you.